Greetings, everyone. How are you? Can you believe that it's almost Halloween? Do you like my costume? Ha, 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 ha. Anyways, we're live, and you know what that means. That means it's time to discuss it with Drake. And as a reminder, if you happen to miss any of my broadcasts, please just go to YouTube and go to Drake's Real Estate TV and hit subscribe. Thanks so very much. Today, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of buying a repossessed property. Not a possessed property, which is kind of common for this time of year, but yes, repossessed. Can you believe it's episode 31 already? Let's get to it. So, buying a house can be incredibly exciting, of course, and terrifying at the same time, especially if it's your first or maybe in your second home. But for a lot of buyers, the idea of getting a killer deal, of course, is always the ultimate goal. One that you may have heard of before is a bank repossessed property, also known as a real estate owned or simply REO. Real estate prices are only going up, and after all, what's the scoop on these REOs? Well, I'm here to tell you. So, can you get a deal on a repossessed property? Well, it's actually a really tricky question with a lot of uncertainty, and in some markets, it's going to be actually certainly easier to take advantage of REOs to find lower entry points, right? But other markets may not actually offer a lot of financial benefit to the buyer. So when inventory is low in their property type and area that you're shopping for, like everywhere here, prices are actually going to tend to trend higher, even for repossessed properties, okay? On the other hand, if you're flexible and aren't overly concerned about neighborhoods and in areas with a lot more inventory, which can be a difficult place for a seller, creating a super local buyer's market. Okay, so what should you know before making an offer on a repo? Everybody wants to know this, right? So if you manage to find this kind of property that you're interested in, there's still a lot to consider before making an offer. The details with repos are many, and they can still work out for buyers if you go into the transaction with your eyes wide open. Did you see that movie? That's kind of creepy, huh? So these are things you need to be aware of. REOs are almost exclusively always sold as is. And yes, every property is sold as is, but this time they really mean it. So that means you get what you get, okay? And since there's unlikely to be a good history available, it may be a lot worse than you can imagine. So you could get lucky and totally win the REO lottery, but remember that many repossessed properties have been sitting vacant for extended periods of time with little to no maintenance or human interaction, which of course can encourage insect and animal infestations on top of the problems that you're already aware of. So I've seen some crazy things, so you want to check this out. Always, always, always get a home inspection with an REO, okay? In most cases, sometimes they're actually even provided for you ahead of time. But in most areas, you can still back out of the transaction if the condition of the home is actually worse than you could have imagined. But check on that, because sometimes it's not. Okay, these inspections, of course, are limited in scope, and surprises, may still be hiding. Let's just say they are still going to be hiding. Okay, so sold as is means just that. Banks are not generally interested in fixing anything. So if your inspector says the AC is bad and the roof is leaking and your foundation is leaning, you'll need to figure out a way to figure that into your overall cost equation, okay? Because they're not going to fix it. REOs are very, very competitive, okay? Investors often love to buy REOs, which means you're going to be competing against other buyers who have lots of that stuff. So do you have a tree in the backyard? Because you're definitely going to need some of that. Cash deals, of course, close faster, and there's less risk that they're going to fail because of anything having to do with lending issues, which makes them pretty appealing for most sellers. So a good REO is likely to be a competitive buy, so you just got to be prepared, okay? Be fully quad for your loan and ready to make your highest and best offer out of the gate, because most of the time, you get one shot, okay? So best and final forward. Like I mentioned earlier, REOs can actually be very difficult to finance, and some REO and lending programs, are are meant to actually go to future homeowners, but mostly are not especially friendly to, they're not especially friendly to non-investor buyers. So you are going to need a substantial down payment, a high credit score, solid debt to income ratio, and reliable employment for a bank to actually take that kind of level of risk on that home because, well, it could be a money pit. And you've seen that movie, right? We make a lot of movie references on here. Anyways, it can absolutely be done. But this is far from your basic first-time home buyer sort of process, right? Then there are loans out there like the FHA 203K, which sometimes can be used, as well as conventional loans, just really depending on the condition of the home. And REOs, of course, can be difficult to close. Okay, so if you have to borrow to buy an REO, just expect the process to possibly take months. Even if you don't have to borrow, sometimes there's just lots of red tape to cut through because you're dealing with the corporate owner rather than an individual. So please allow plenty of time to get through all the steps, the processes, to be prepared. Should you have to pivot, friends, into a different loan program if things happen to get dicey on you. Okay, so should you buy a repossessed home? Well, if you've thoroughly prepared yourself for owning a home with a poorly documented history and a higher than normal risk of unexpected problems, as well as a stressful buying process, then go with it, then absolutely go buy one if it's right for you. And I can write that out for you. Just remember, sometimes REOs are the only way to get into the right neighborhoods, or even if you find one in your budget, so there are definitely reasons to actually pull that trigger. So don't forget that once you've closed, you're going to need a lot of expert help. So hopefully you've already got those lined up. If you need recommendations, please just reach out. I've got that for you as well. So that's really all I have for you today. I just want to thank HomeKeeper for providing all the information. I hope you found it helpful, and please feel free to share. As always, if you'd like a copy of today's information, just let me know and I can drop it off for you. Is there a topic you'd like me to cover? Let me know. I'll get it on the calendar. Okay, so thank you so much for your interest and support. I really do appreciate it. Remember, I always try to come from contribution. So once again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to live, laugh, and love. And until next week, when the next move matters, contact Drake for Homes. That's me! All right, see you guys later. Bye now.